now entering the horror sanctum.
Hello and welcome back to the Horror Sanctum podcast. I'm Jay with John and Kellen, and today we're joined by actor Mr. Matthew G. Taylor. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how are you?
How's it going?
Matthew, you've been in numerous films and television series, Boondock Saints 2, Exit Wounds, Gothica, Detroit Rock City, Pacific Rim, Umbrella Academy, and more. I think you're probably best known for playing the mutated monster Nemesis in the 2004 Resident Evil Apocalypse film.
Absolutely.
Probably one of my favorites of the series. I think I actually just watched them all again this week.
Oh, did you?
After 3, it kind of drops off for me, but I still enjoy them. So we're just going to talk to you about ask some questions about your career and
cool.
Some of your films and all that. I'm going to let John go ahead and start us off.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, John.
Hey.
Nice
To meet you too. I know Jay's going to ask a lot about Resident Evil, but I had to start with this because I was just like amazed when I saw you were in this movie, and this was a favorite of mine when I was a teenager. Detroit Rock City.
Yeah.
You were Chongo, right?
Oh, yeah, that's it. That part for a follow has followed me around my whole career. And you know what? I embrace it. I love it.
Nice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such an interesting movie, and it's kind of like a teen cult classic now.
100%.
Did you what was it like? Did you like working with Adam? Who was it? Adam Rifkin on that one? Yeah.
Rifkin, yeah, he was the director. Yeah. Really good guy. I have a fond memory of him. It's been a long time, obviously, but definitely a very, very easygoing and involved director, and treated everyone on the set the same, which is nice to see. It's refreshing to see that. And just a good set. The director often sets the tone for the rest of the set, both talent side and crew side. So he was a good guy, definitely a good guy to work for, essentially. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Young guy at the time. He was definitely an up and comer, a younger director. And yeah, for sure. That was a fun shoot. I enjoyed that. I met one of my best friends, who is still one of my best friends, Shane Daly. He played my Chongo Bud. He was one of the guys beside me. So him and I, that started our long friendship. So yeah, that shoot's got some good memories attached to it for sure. Yeah, notwithstanding just the role and the following it's had. This many years later, I still get that nickname. There's a couple of people that would call me Chongo, literally. So that became my handle. Right.
Is that a very and I always wonder this with comedies. I did a little bit of acting years ago, but I know with Big Pictures, something like that, and it's a comedy. Is that a very improv based set, or is it really to the script with the comedy? Because it seems like that, especially that movie, I couldn't imagine there wouldn't be some ad-libbing or something going on.
You know what? There always is within a certain range, and then again, it comes back to the director and the producers and how much of that they want and how much they want to stick to the script, because you have script writers too that don't want to be offended. So it's a balance. With that shot or that show specifically, I don't remember there being a lot of ad lib. But obviously in the industry it does happen, and sometimes it has to, just based on the scene and the dynamics of the scenes. But I think the script was well enough written and kind of comic enough in how it was written that it really didn't need a lot of ad lib, because I think a lot of ad lib sometimes comes from maybe not the best writing, and that's not to knock any one production, but I think this was written in a way that it just kind of flowed, and I'm sure you'd agree with that. Just based on how the dialogue was written and the scenes played out, but.
No, I agree. I mean, you're right. It's if the script is great, the comedy works.
Yeah.
It's always interesting with comedies because that script is so crucial. And I think there is that assumption there could be a lot of improv, but like you said, I mean, if it's there, it's there, and you cast it right.
Exactly.
Sure. What was so kind of moving forward a little bit in your career? I'm a big Guillermo del Toro fan.
Okay. Yeah.
And I noticed you were involved with Pacific Rim and The Strain.
And The Strain, yep.
So what was your relationship like getting those roles? Did you get to talk to Guillermo much, or what was that like?
Again, another director who's very involved. I mean, a lot of directors are, just not by virtue of the fact they're on set. But he another great guy. Just really, really, really friendly, really supportive. And not just with me, but with other people as well. Just you observe a lot on set. Obviously, there's a lot of interaction, and you're there, and with other actors, and you see his interaction or director's interactions with other talent. But yeah, he was. He won the Academy Award after I had worked with him, so I didn't get a chance to congratulate him. But nice, very friendly guy. And again, I've had some great experiences. I really have. I'd struggle to recall any really negative ones that I've had. So touch wood, I've been fortunate in my journey to have worked with, for the most part, just really good people, on the director side and production side. So
nice.
Were those two connected at all? Like Pacific Rim and then getting the Strain gig, or were those just
just coincidental? Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, one didn't lead to the other. There was a bit of a time gap between the two. As it happens, I doubled the same individual. So with Pacific Rim, I played on the Salt Chuck crew at the very beginning. It was the boat that when the Kaiji is first exposed, that's the boat and the crew that's on the boat. That was actually a fantastic scene to shoot. That was really kind of watered down in the final cut in the post production, what they do with everything. But they actually had the boat, a big, huge fishing boat, in a studio on hydraulics, with water cannons and green screen all around. So it was something I had never done to that point in my career. So it was really, really fascinating. The boat would move like it was in the water, and really, really a cool thing to experience. And then I doubled on that same film. I doubled the Russian pilot, Robert Mayet. He's a big dude, and he's been in a lot of notable roles as well. He's a good friend of mine. So I ended up doubling him on Pacific Rim because the in the pilot compartment, where the pilots would operate the Kaiji, they basically put you into these kind of like an elliptical type mechanism, and it was extremely heavy and extremely physical, and Robert just had some physical limitations. So they brought me in to double for him because of his size, and I was a big guy, obviously, or I'm a big guy and bigger 4 years ago, but his size and my size weren't that far off. He's got a little bit of height on me. Mm-hmm. So I ended up doubling him on that, and then later on in The Strain, he played the master, and for the same reason, just due to his physical limitations, they brought me in to take care of any scenes that involved a lot of movement or any sort of physical contact or fighting. So there wasn't a lot of fighting with that part, but just more the moving that he had difficulty with at times, just due to his bad knees and stuff. So and then in the Strain, I did a gladiator scene as well. So I was fortunate enough to get that piece as well with that series. So I played in a couple seasons on that show, and again with a great director, and just coincidental between the two, though. It worked out well.
Nice. Yeah, it's something like Pacific Rim. I wonder, because I love that movie. It's just so epic and great, and it's like I really think it is the modern Godzilla. It's amazing. And when you get on that set and you walk in, is it kind of shocking and sort of like jaw dropping when you walk into it, or is it one of those things to where it's like it's another day at work, you just kind of focus on what you got to do and ignore all the things going around because it's so big? I just wondered what that's
Yeah.
like.
You know what? It's and I get these sorts of questions quite a bit, quite often, just from family, friends, and otherwise. But yeah, it's never just a job, but at the same time, yeah, the novelty with anything wears off after doing it for so long. But there's always those moments, just like as described with the fishing boat, where it's like, holy smokes, like you just, those are the moments where it's like, wow, I'm part of this and it's really cool. And there's things that I'm always seeing new things, especially with the bigger productions, the higher budget productions.
Mm-hmm.
You always there's always new experiences. So you do have those moments of wow. And then there's the other times where it's just maybe just a more of a regular set and you're just showing up and doing your thing and, punching the clock when you go home, so to speak. And so it kind of falls probably on both ends, just depending on the shoot and the day, yeah, for sure. But yeah, the money that goes into these productions is crazy, and Pacific Rim was no exception. Just oh, we need a wall to divide this big studio, so they'll put up a $200,000 drywall wall without even blinking. So
Man.
Yeah, stuff like that you kind of you when you experience it, it's like wow, just the production values are crazy. But I kind of think that kind of goes without saying. It just takes money to make these big blockbusters, and yeah, it's great to be part of it and see those things and have those moments of wow, it's you're part of this, and it's surreal in some instances, and yeah, you just embrace it and enjoy it while it's there. So
nice. Yeah, and I have massive respect for anyone that works on those films, because I think it's nowadays everyone loves like indies and smaller movies, but those big films, like, it takes a real talent and drive to really operate something on that massive of a scale and really keep everything together. I mean, it's so impressive when you think about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's there's so many moving parts with film, and I've had this conversation too many a time, and yeah, it's amazing the logistics that need to be figured out on any given day. Never mind for the whole duration of the production. It's mind blowing. It really is. Yeah, because there's so many moving parts, so many departments, and everyone's got to come together, right? So, yeah, I wouldn't want that job. Just saying, but I'll stay on the talent side. I'm happy there.
So, I wondered, on the opposite end of that, I know you were in Boondock Saints too.
Yep.
So, when you took that role, did you have any like knowledge that was a cult? Because at the time when that came out, I wasn't as big of a Boondock Saints fan, but that's had such a cult following, it got the sequel. Did you know about that, or were you kind of just like going in like, we'll see how this goes type thing?
Honest answer, I wasn't really a follower of the original. I think I'd seen it. I can't even say if I'd seen it in its entirety. Might have just been a movie that was on at a house gathering I was at or something, but I don't remember sitting down. I definitely wasn't like an avid fan going into the audition for that. Nor could you have predicted how big Norman Reedus would become,
Right.
So and that's the beauty of working with people that he was known at that point, but not obviously to the extent that he is now. Definitely wasn't a household name, but at that point. But it's neat to look back though and see yourself working with those people that did become quite famous in their own right, for sure. But yeah, great couple of films that I can appreciate people that do embrace the two movies, and and I can see how it has the following it has. It's definitely a unique piece of work for sure on both the original and the sequel. So it was definitely cool to be part of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think those movies are it's so hard those movies are so rare to come about, and then for that to get a sequel, that was just amazing. I mean, I feel like at that time the original was picking up that traction, and then the sequel came out and it was really surprising. But yeah, I mean, I loved it, and
Would you
it's
like
cool.
better, the original or the sequel?
I definitely probably would say I like the original the most, but the sequel
Absolutely.
still was kind of, it had some
That was a trick
quirkiness.
question.
Yeah, it still had some
How am I
quirky,
catch
fun
you?
He
stuff.
got you. He got you. The sequel has "Who ordered the whoop ass fajitas," which is one of the
Right,
greatest
exactly.
lines in cinematic history.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh
That's
man.
good.
Well, I know Kellen's got some
Yeah, man.
questions he wanted to ask, man. So I'll pass it over to him a little bit.
Awesome, guys.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. I was looking at your bio and IMDb. I used to work at a jail as a corrections nurse, so I'm kind of familiar with law enforcement. And you started out in law enforcement, and then transitioned to acting. So did you grow up wanting to be into law enforcement, and then you decided like through that you wanted to get into acting? Was it something that just kind of fell in your lap, or did you always want acting? Law enforcement was just kind of like the natural progression as you tried to figure out how to break into the industry?
You know, you're the first guy that's brought policing into any sort of podcast or interview. That's awesome. But you know, no, they're totally unrelated to one another. Just happened that I'll give you trying to give you the abbreviated version because I can be long-winded at times. I worked in you know, security before I became a police officer in the mid 90s, and I worked at this club, and I got to know one of the patrons there. Fast forward a little bit, got into policing, and then I went out for dinner with friends one night, and I ran into that patron. And he said, "You know what? I'm a writer, and I have an agent, and I think you have a great look, and I would love you to meet my agent. I think you do well in film." And that's kind of how it started. I went and met his agent, and the rest is history. I started booking stuff right away. And then it just started getting busier and busier in the mid to late 90s. And that's when I made a decision to leave policing. So to try to pursue acting on a full-time basis. So yeah, they're completely unrelated. I left policing so I could focus on film and be fair to the people that I was working with on the police service, because if your mind's not into that job, you're not doing yourself any favors, and you're definitely not doing it with any favors. So and you know what, I wanted to focus and really give film you know, enough of me to see, you know, where things could go, and it was going well already in 3 or 4 years in. So I felt, you know what, I was young enough at the time to make that sort of choice, and I went with it. So
awesome.
Yeah. And I'll give you a bit of a spoiler alert, if you will. I'm a serving police officer right now.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
I went back to the job about 8 years ago. So I've been managing that in my film work. It's nothing I spend too much time, you know, putting out there as part of my, you know, I guess marketing. But and that's just more out of respect for my service. I just don't want, you know, anything coming out and anything coming back on that side of things, because everything is social media driven nowadays. So I kind of run the two separate in that stance. But I miss policing, and I went back just because that's kind of part of my DNA is doing that line of work too. And they both work very well together, because I get so much free the schedule works in such a way that I have so much time that I can put towards the film side of things, and still be able to kind of give back to the community and do what I like to do on the other end too. So
and you say they go together schedule wise. I imagine that the skill set, as far as, you know, as an officer, you're dealing with different personalities, different kinds of people, different temperaments. Do you feel like that kind of helped you when you got into acting as well, dealing with so many different kinds of people? And
absolutely, and just that's for sure, without a doubt, that was a big just building the confidence as a young person and dealing with people, real life situations, high stakes in situations, you know, building that sort of confidence to be able to, you know, develop those interpersonal skills. So absolutely, absolutely, that helped with the film, and you know, it still does to this day for that reason. So, you know, being a police officer still currently, I mean, I can definitely tie the two together, and I say the policing helps the film just because of what I know about that industry, and I do get a lot of opportunity to read for roles that involve law enforcement or involve policing or involve something that I can tie in from my experience on that side of things too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of breaking in, when
Yeah.
you broke into movies, do you have a specific role or memory where you feel like, okay, like I'm in this now, like this is Hollywood?
Wow. Yeah, kind of tied back into my answer earlier with, the kind of those moments of wow, as opposed to, well, I'm here for another day on set and go wait in your trailer type of thing.
Right.
Yeah, any blockbuster, any high, feature film, you're gonna get those moments of wow, this is, and when you're meeting A-list talent, Hollywood, actors. Those are the times when you kind of take a step back and say, wow, this is what I'm doing this for. Because everyone strives to do the big films, and that's, obviously the most people, that's the most predominant thing on their radar as far as parts they want to land, are the ones that are going to be seen by more people. I did see with Jason Momoa back in 2021, and he was a great guy to work with. But it was nice to kind of get back into that higher level of, that was a series, not a film, but I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the series, but it was, I loved it. I thought it was a great series, and it was just, that was probably one of those Hollywood moments where it's like, yeah,
Right.
I'm part of something big. And no disrespect to any of the smaller projects I've worked on or will work on in the future, but yeah, it's a different feel. It just is when you're dealing with a bigger budget production, without a doubt. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of my last question. So you've worked with some pretty big names in your career, both in front of and behind the camera. Is there anybody specific that sticks out where you worked with and you were like, I'm just going to try to absorb everything I can. Like, I can't believe I can get to work with this person.
Wow. I can't. And again, you've seen my resume, so to speak, and my IMDb.
Right.
I've done some good work and good films, rather, with some predominant names. I mean, I can't say I've ever looked for mentorship from anybody, and that's not to sound like I don't need it or I'm too.
Of course, yeah.
But a lot of my parts are also physically driven, and I have been physically driven, like the Nemesis, for an example. So it's more just seeing, I guess, working with those big actors and aspiring to reach the level that they reach, more than taking notes on, kind of how they're running scenes or doing scenes. And that's not to say I won't progress to that if some of the parts I get in the future are more dialogue driven and there's more and more acting nuances involved in some of the work I'll be doing in the future. For sure, I'll be looking to other actors to, kind of maybe hone my craft. But to date, a lot of my stuff's been physical, and I bring a pretty good skill set to the table already. I feel I've found over the years, but I've been fortunate enough also to train with a lot of people behind the camera to get me to the point where I need to get to, in some of those physically driven or physical roles. Because there's always rehearsals, up the yin yang when it comes to anything that involves fight. There's choreography, that needs to be done. See, it was my last example of that, or the most recent one where there was an extensive amount of choreography involved, and that's done obviously offset and leading up to the shoot day. So yeah, there's definitely, I guess there's always room to learn and always room to grow.
Right.
But on the acting side, yeah, I mean, that's something that, hopefully I'll get an opportunity to, again, hone that sort of the chops, with more dialogue driven roles in the future. And yeah, that would probably be my answer to that question, is just, wait and see. And yeah, hopefully I'll have that opportunity to, learn from someone that's, has that pedigree. So
I have some Nemesis questions, but real quick, on Gothica, did you get, I can't remember if you had scenes, did you get to work with Robert Downey Jr. directly at all in that one?
I did not. I was not in any scenes with Robert Downey Jr. I was on set with him and a handful of times. Was in the hair and makeup with him a couple times. So I did converse with him, but not at any great length, because we just weren't in the same scenes together. So we didn't cross paths on shoot dates very often.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, another actor who was kind of just making his way back into the fray when I worked with him in that. But yeah, Iron Man was a few years away at that point. So
I remember watching Ally McBeal and seeing all that happen. Like I loved him in Ally McBeal, and then I'm so glad he came back the way he did.
No, that's a true comeback story, to the nth degree. Absolutely. For him, definitely. Yeah.
I have one personal question about Nemesis and Zach Ward, who played Nikolai.
Yes.
I believe.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shows of all time is Titus, with Christopher Titus, and he played Dave, his little brother.
Yeah.
Did you have any interaction with him?
I did not. No. And again, our scenes didn't overlap, and we just weren't on set on the same days.
Yeah.
No, and his role, he played one of the
like mercenaries or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. No, didn't get the opportunity to, and yeah, unfortunately.
I just wanted somebody to say he's a great guy, just like his dad.
I can say that. I just don't know if there's any truth behind it.
So, like I said earlier, I rewatched all the Resident Evils this week. 1, 2 are my favorite. Obviously, you could kind of almost switch them around at times. 3, and then it unfortunately takes a little bit of a dive for me. But you had some job security with Nemesis, because they made that costume just for you, right? Like no one else can fit in that. So you come in and do whatever you want. They're like, we got to stick with them. Like no one else can fit in it.
Yeah.
Did that? It weighed like almost 100 pounds. It was like 7 feet tall. Did that take a toll on your body at all, being in that? And how long did you really have to be in that in consecutive?
It was definitely a made to measure suit. It was done by the plaster body casting. Nowadays they do it with cameras in a booth, so it's much easier. It's all done digitally. Now back then it was done with basically like a body cast, so I got to experience that as well. That was interesting. Straws up the nose for the head. It was literally the whole body. And it was silicone, mostly large part of it was silicone. Obviously there was some other material used for it, but that was your basic mass. So there was some weight to it. And it was corseted at the back, so it was tied up at the back like a shoelace, so it would really draw your posture back, which did take its toll after being in it for so many hours. And it was a lot of night shoots, so your body's not used to necessarily functioning the same at night as it does in the daytime.
Right.
Yeah, just based on just being tired and not having the same sort of energy level, so that played a part as well. It was hot. I lost a lot of hydration, or it required a lot of hydration while I was in the suit, which wasn't always available just based on where we were located or what we were shooting at the time. And there was some weight to it that the gun to that. There was leather on top of it. So there was a lot of pieces on that did make it very uncomfortable. No, all complaints aside, I wouldn't complain. I'd do it again tomorrow if I had the opportunity. But it definitely took a toll on my body, without a doubt, on my back and whatnot, but well worth it. But the shoots were long. Maybe there were 14-hour days were common. I think we went up to like 16-hour days at some points. So you're in it pretty much the whole time, more or less. There were times when if there was a long break between when they would be shooting me next, they would take me out of it. But there was it took a bit of time to get me in. We got to streamline pretty good, but production's always going to want you ready when they need you. And even if they think they'll need you in an hour, it's probably more like 4 hours, but they'll keep you in it just because, and you're kind of at their mercy. So yeah, it definitely is a memorable role in the toll it took on my body. But again, I would do it tomorrow if I had the opportunity. So,
right.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of behind the scenes photos where you're not wearing the head. Was it 2 pieces, like a bodysuit and then like almost like a helmet that went on?
Exactly. Yep. And then they had 2 versions of the helmet. One had the animatronics in it, so the mouth would move and the eye would move for the up close shots. And the other one, there was no wires in it. It was just very similar looking, but just without any electrics. And that was more for your physical roles, where there was fight scenes and more distant shots. So
I love the design. I'm like watching it again. I've probably seen it, 10 times.
Yeah.
Every time you watch it, you notice more things. You grow up and
Absolutely.
your changes. And I'm like, this is like, it's such a great design.
Yeah.
Was it Crop Circle Incorporated? Are they the ones who made it? And I read that they kept it. Like they have it in their offices, the suit. And I was wondering if you tried to take that home with you at all.
Well, Paul Jones is the actual creator of the suit. Props to Paul. He was awesome. So I'm not sure. Yeah, this news to me. I'm not sure who actually has a suit now, but it would be kind of cool to be able to access it. Not gonna lie, for sure. For obvious reasons, but yeah, I'll have to take your word on that. I'm not sure I wasn't aware who actually had.
Well, it was on Google, so it's probably.
Oh, it's got to be right. Yeah.
Did you play the video games at all?
I never, you know what, I didn't. I had this question last podcast, and it's not just a canned response. I do plan on getting some exposure to that. I've just never been a gamer.
Yeah.
I'm 50 years old, so I grew up with the television and Atari, and I had limited exposure to that just based on my upbringing and what I was allowed to do and not allowed to do as a child. So gaming was never something that really, grabbed me or I got into as an adult. At the point when it became a thing, I was already an adult. So, but I've obviously seen the game. I just haven't been able to touch and feel and play it myself. And I don't know if I should be ashamed of that, but I just haven't.
I'm not a gamer either. Like I feel like I should be, but I'm not. But I'll be honest, when I was a kid and that Silent Hill came out on PlayStation, that's when the remote started to vibrate, and I mean those scared the piss out of me, so I didn't want to play them anymore. Like I was in my room in the dark playing this game, getting scared. I'm like, I'm done. I got to do it.
I was actually lined up to play the Pyramid, but some stuff fell through, and they ended up going with a dancer because of the fluidity of the movement that was required. So I was pretty much lined up to play that part, and going back again not long after Res Evil. But you brought up Silent Hill, so that just brought back that memory. Thanks, guys. Jeez.
Way to go, Jay.
You're welcome.
Did you ever I know that, like, being that you're a big guy and I imagine you've auditioned for all kinds of heavy roles and bad guy roles. Have you ever wanted to play anyone in horror, specifically like a horror related role? Because when I look at you, and just based on your work, like I hope you take this as a compliment. You could definitely do Jason Voorhees. Like if they do a Friday,
that would be the answer for sure. I mean, that would be an honor just because that's what I grew up with too. I see the poster behind your head there too. So, or the posters rather, plural. That would be I've been asked this question before, and that would be my first choice if I could play a part. And that's just because of the memories I have attached to that franchise as a child.
Nice.
And Corey Feldman played in one of them. Come on. I mean, whose footsteps are better to follow than Corey? I'm kidding. All the respect to Corey. But, and the reason I know that's because I watched one recently. I didn't realize he was in it. I think it was number 3. I think it was 3 or 4. Maybe 4. Was it 4 he was in?
4.
Yeah, 3 was with the bikers. Yeah, 4 went, so I kid about the Corey thing, but no, that would be my answer for sure.
Yeah, Kellen and I actually met Corey Feldman a couple months ago.
Oh, did you?
He's touring.
Yeah,
he played
super nice guy.
About VIP. I'm like, we're gonna hang out with Corey Feldman.
That would be. He'd be I saw him at an airport once with Nicole Eggert because they did that show. I'm drawing a blank on the show that they did together. Him, Corey Haim, and Nicole Eggert did a movie together. Corey Haim's obviously not with us anymore, but don't ask me what the name of it is. I can't remember. You guys might be able to help me out. It's an older movie, but and Nicole Eggert played in Baywatch, and I don't know what she's doing now. Did Charles in Charge? Anyway, I saw him at an airport once, way back before I was ever in the industry, or maybe early 90s anyway. But he'd be a cool guy to meet just because, he's been, someone who's just kind of been around.
Yeah. We're most of us are in like 30s, almost 40. And, we grew up on him. He was in, like, think of all your favorite movies from the 80s, like Feldman was in all those damn movies. Like, it's
Blown Away.
Yeah. Was it Blown Away?
Yeah.
Okay. Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, and Nicole Eggert. Attaboy. Okay, I may have to watch that. Just playback.
So we'll wrap things up. I do have one question I like to ask our guests, and you may not have an answer, and that's completely fair. But
yeah,
do you have a particular role that you favor more than others? I would assume it's Nemesis, but maybe not. Like, is there one that you hold dear, or you enjoy doing more, or has meant more to you over the years?
Wow. I think the go-to answer for that would just be what you suggested it would be, and that's for sure Nemesis. I mean, that's been the most memorable role, just based on the size of the role, the fact that it has the video game franchise, the movie franchise, it's following, it's stayed relevant my whole career. So that's the one that's, probably would leave I probably have the best memories of. It was a great crew. It was a great shoot all around. It just a great role, a great role to be able to do and have the privilege to have done. Working with Seagal, as that was, a great opportunity as well, because I grew up on him, grew up with him actually, and with his movies, and so being able to meet him and work with him and do fight scenes with him, that was amazing as well. So,
Nice.
And he does police work as well.
And that's more of a Hollywood, or more kind of a Hollywoodized. He got on, basically down there, you get commissioned. You don't have to go. You're a cop. Here you go. But I did watch that show too, so that was fun. Yeah. Down in Louisiana or somewhere, I think he was doing the show there for a while. But funny.
Was there ever any whispers of maybe Nemesis coming back in the series? Because although I didn't play the games, I did a little research, and I guess he was just a straight up villain in the games, but in the movie they kind of changed his arc a little bit, made him more of a tragic villain, like it was against his will. Yeah. And we assume he died I guess they dropped the bomb. We assume he died, but was there any whispers of maybe that not being the case and him coming back at all?
Well, when I shot the Apocalypse, that was the thought throughout, was he would die, the helicopter crash into him, and you would see the hand come up, kind of, out of the burning rubble, and they did shoot it that way, but it just didn't make the final cut. So what happened kind of by the time it got to post-production, I don't know. I can't speak to that, but that was the original thought from number 2, to make him still relevant some way, or the possibility of him, coming back. I haven't heard anything since. I'll just say, yes to that, but who knows, right? I mean, anything's possible. It's the franchise doesn't seem to be going anywhere fast. On the movie side of things. So I guess it depends, how they want to play the part of the next, movies going forward, and if they feel bringing him back. I think there was an appearance in 6. I haven't seen 6, but I know that they had to get my blessing to, have an image of the Nemesis in number 6. So
they did a flashback with the guy who
exactly.
That's
right. So as far as coming back and playing a main part, that would be awesome. Clearly be amazing.
I mean, the movie itself was only like $1.33. Like, it wasn't very long, and I feel like we deserve more. Like I said, it was one of the better villains I've seen in a long time. Like, I would enjoy him coming back in some capacity, unless they make him a friend of Mila Jovovich's character, and they go off together. I wouldn't have liked that, but because the rest of the movie is really just humans that have infected themselves with T-viruses, some larger monsters. There's no one like that, that caliber. I don't know, it's just different. I would have liked him more, but maybe one day. So, Matthew, thank you so much for taking some time and joining us today. I know that you're going to be at the Houston Horror Film Festival in August.
Yeah.
Do you have any other stuff lined up right now, or any other projects you're working on?
Some more. So Jen's the one talked about the festivals. I know we have. I think we got about 5 or 6 lined up, and Houston included in that, over the next 12-month period, maybe even 10-month period. It's filling up. She's constantly on the phone or on email with with people from all over. Film side of things, yeah, there's some stuff shaping up, but I always keep my cards close to my chest when it comes to that sort of thing. And with all respect, that's just the way I've always worked. Even with my family, doesn't even know what I have on the cooker, or in the as far as stuff that may be coming up. So I do work with my film agent is someone entirely different, obviously. So I'm in constant communication with her about stuff, and it's things are shaping up nice. It looks like for the summer. So
awesome.
Yeah,
good to hear. So be sure to follow Matthew G. Taylor on Instagram. Keep up with his appearances so you can come see him somewhere. I don't know if anybody's listening in Houston since we're in Nashville, but hey, go to the Houston Horror Film Festival. That's going to do it for this episode. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to wherever you're listening to us now. Be sure to check out Matthew's post, find out where he's going, where he's going to be. And that's going to be it. So for us here at Raccoon City, I'm Jay with John, Kellen, and Matthew. And until next time,
keep it spooky.